Hi. In the great words of Benjamin Sisko.
Welcome to Deep Space Nine.
Oh, what the hell were you looking at?
Ish. This is Deep Space Nine at Nine-ish. Welcome to Deep Space Nine at Nine-ish. I'm your host, Jeff Mader, coming to you with another great episode, Season 3, Episode 18, Distant Voices. It's all about Bashir. He's in a coma, but he's got to figure his way out of it. But before we break it all down, let's bring in all the voices, all the distant voices we have here on Deep Space Nine at Nine-ish. We'll bring him first, my brother, Dave. How are you?
Doing well, Jeff. I'm here for the Yiddish cream pie, or the Yiddish cream pie. You know.
Oh, well, that sounds pretty good.
You know, I know you know, and my birthday, and I'm feeling kind of old. I don't know. It's just a reminder.
You're turning 30, Dave, and when you turn 30, that's when you know.
Years ago, but you know, it's. I'm still getting over it, like Bashir.
The whole episode is just a shock that midlife crisis is around the corner. Okay. Also, do we have one half of the tag team couple, or do we have both?
We can confirm at least half. Yes, bring it in.
Kevin Millard, how are you? Are you ready to talk about distant voices? It's all about Bashir.
I'm always ready to talk about Bashir.
What a laugh!
What a laugh!
Oh, I gotta get some of those. What a laugh is a great one. And last but not least, let's bring in Prayer Brow 2, Jaemeel Robinson. How are you?
I'm back.
Oh,
He's
nice
back
head
after a
turn.
2-week hiatus.
2-week hiatus. He was a distant voice, but no longer. He's back where he belongs here on Deep Space Nine at Nine-ish, ready to break everything down here in Season 3. Jaemeel, how are you?
I'm okay. Thank you for asking. Enough night shift. It's time for the 9 shift.
Oh, it's time for the Nine-ish.
Have you had any Kardashian Enigma tales, Jaemeel? Was that what you were up to?
Yes, I was.
Yeah,
Definitely. Everyone was the culprit.
everyone's guilty, but the fun is figuring out who's guilty of what.
Exactly.
Yes.
And
who
this
represents-
episode is guilty of many things. But we'll get into it.
We will. We'll get into it. Okay, so we can kind of just, start from the beginning, I guess, if we want to break down this episode. Basically,
Start at the end if you want, but I think
we could start at the end. Hey, we have done that here on Tuesdays Night at Nine-ish. Sometimes the episode warrants that, but this one, I think you need to kind of talk about it in chronological order because of the type of episode that it is. So we start the episode with Bashir and Garak having a nice chat about Bashir. Garak asks about Dax and surprise parties, and Bashir basically.
It starts with Yiddish cream pie, just for the record.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can acknowledge the Yiddish cream pie. I'm just not sure.
I just want acknowledgement. Just want the acknowledgement. Like, every time we get a new Star Trek food, I think it's a celebration.
Yeah. It is. I think it is. Maybe he needs some yannick sauce with his Yiddish cream pie, but I don't know if that they would go together. What we have here is, Bashir and Garak talking about, like a surprise party Dax was going to throw for him, and he's kind of like, I'm turning 30. I don't really want a surprise party. That's lame. Surprise parties are lame anyway. I like that Dax wants to do something for me, but, don't like that. And he's like, I'm turning 30. I'm getting old. And I love Garak's response to him. He says, he's like, and that's bad. Like when getting older, he's like, no, well, yes, it's just a reminder that you're gonna die. Like the Cardassian and
Cardassians don't have this hang up, apparently.
No, they don't care about this. They don't worry about mortality.
It actually seems that in the Star Trek universe that only humans really care about this. Other races seem to always adore their
I would remind you of a Dr. Tolian Soren, the El-Orion who killed Kirk. Time is the fire in which we burn.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, that's a thing too. But okay, so we in this episode then so what ends up happening is it who's the Thorian, or is that his name? What kind of a species is this guy that comes over with a cork?
Lethian. Yeah, I don't know if we've seen the Lethians before this, but
he's just basically a scary monster alien-looking guy that comes over with Quark, and Quark's like, "Hey, Bashir, I already told them, but if I don't ask you in front of him, he's probably gonna snap my neck. So hey, can I get some biomimetic gel?" And Bashir's like, "No. It's not for sale." under for any case. And the Lethian doesn't seem too impressed. Quark's like, that's what I told them.
There was another Lethian scene after this, but there was one in the episode called the Sword of Kalis, where Kor and Worf and them went off to get the Sword of Kalis, and there was a Lethian that probed Kor's mind to get the information, so that the House of Duras could get involved, if you recall.
Okay. We haven't got there yet, Dave. So I don't recall, because here in DS9
we've never watched.
We've never seen this before. This is our first viewing.
I have no idea what's going on.
It is 1995.
Yes,
okay. But doesn't this whole seem like a setup of some sort? Like, yes. Shouldn't Bashir go, "Are you a cop?" Like, it seems a little bit like entrapment or something. It's like this highly illegal thing.
Yeah. Biomimetic gel.
Yeah. I mean, in general, it's illegal, right? And you shouldn't even be asking for it. And in the open confines of this bar, in full view of the public and ears of the public, asking for this to a member of the Starfleet main crew, the bridge crew. And
he's part of the command structure.
Yes.
Senior officer.
Isn't it his duty to report this?
Yes.
Yeah. He even says to Quark, "Hey, you can be arrested for doing this." He goes, "I know. That's what I told him." He goes, and he's like, "Just for suggesting, just for asking, for the mimetic gel." So yeah. That whole the whole, and this comes up later too in the Pale Moonlight guys. We haven't got there yet on DS9.
This is the biomimetic gel prequel.
It is. It's and Bashir is going to write a strongly worded letter to Starfleet Medical over Sisko's decision, and that's the type of stuff Bashir will do.
Yeah.
Oh,
the Sisko part of him
Quark is fine, but for Sisko, he has to by the book.
Yeah. For Quark, he's letting him off, but for Sisko, he knows he's up to no good.
Wouldn't it be the best if Sisko, if he had later on when he's like, I'm going to do put this in my log, Captain, and I want you to know that that's the part of my personality that was represented by you in my little coma.
Yeah, he should have brought that up in the Pale Moonlight. That would have been a great little callback to this episode. Yeah, for sure.
Remember last time we were dealing with biomimetic gel, you were my hero because you were the guy who knew how to use the tricorder.
You represent my professionalism and my skill. I'm flattered.
I'm flattered.
Technically, wouldn't you be flattered? Because you're like, I'm not part of his main personality, the stuff that annoys me. So thanks.
I'm not anything interesting about me. Really,
I'm not his humor, which sucks. I'm not there's a whole variety of faults that people don't like about Bashir.
Yeah, we didn't find the annoying part of him either, though. The one that wouldn't stop to shut up.
If you want to know,
I don't know. I thought that was kind of Kira, but we're not there yet. But yeah. And it's sort of O'Brien too. But anyway, go ahead, Kevin.
No, I was just gonna say, if you want to know how much they don't really like him, when he finally hears them outside of his coma, they say he's going to die. He has 3 hours to live, and Sisko's next line is, "I'll be in my office."
Yeah.
Call me if anything happens.
Call me if anything changes or if he gets better. Basically, is what he said.
Well, that's what we can do. Jake, I gotta get home for Jake.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. He's like, "Oh, what? I gotta go to Bajor. I got a thing." Yeah. I agree. I think Dax is the only one that kind of likes Bashir at this point, and O'Brien, obviously. But O'Brien is not really heavily involved. He was there though, on the other side of the coma, right? He was in the room, right? They
for some reason.
For some reason. So because the coma O'Brien hears the real O'Brien, and then we get this great line.
Let me see that. You know what this means? This tricorder is broken. That's what it means.
Good line.
Yeah, this tricorder is broken. That's what it means. He's like trying to convince. I guess it's his doubt and is trying to convince.
He's
himself.
doubt. I love that he plays doubt so well. He's written so funny.
Yeah.
But okay, even when he gets attacked by the by Alvatar by the Lethian, and then he wakes up and there's nobody around, and I get it's disorientating, but it takes him a long time to kind of figure out that something's wrong, or that something's really wrong. A little bit too long.
He meets up with a very scared Quark right off the bat. Well, first he's in the sick bay, that's where he kind of wakes up, and everything's strewn about. Nobody's around. It's very strange.
Computer won't work. He's kind of freaked out. He's trying to figure out where Cisco is. Nobody's on the promenade.
And then he finds Quark, and Quark is just saying he's going to kill us, and he's scared to death. And Bashir is like, just please tell me, Quark, and Quark won't give him anything.
He's fear. Quark was his fear.
Yeah, I guess he was his fear.
But later on, when he comes back to the bar, Quark's no longer a fear. Quark's like gambling or something.
Yeah. Just even before that, the whole thing that brought Bashir into this kind of coma, he walks in to sickbay. He sees the Lithian going through his stuff, and he's like, hey, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Knowing damn well why he's there. He didn't immediately.
He knows exactly why he's there. Yeah, he doesn't even have to guess.
Yeah. Where's Odo, by the way?
What's the first rule? Hit your comm badge.
Yeah.
Go, Bashir Dops, intruder alert in the infirmary.
What happened? What happened to Odo's rule last episode? I'm always watching Quark. Apparently not today.
Maybe he didn't hit his comm badge because he was worried Odo would walk in beside him and then he'd die.
Maybe. Bashir does not handle the situation very well. He's mad about he's turning 30. He's not thinking straight. That's I guess why.
No, he's talking to Garrick about it. Garrick doesn't understand. He's Cardassian.
But it makes sense from the Cardassian point of view. If there's subdiffusion, trickery afoot, for you to get to a later part in life with your wits about you, that's a big accomplishment.
Right.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think even in human culture, we see it that way. But when you're younger, when you are turning 30, I think that's kind of the dilemma that Bashir is going through. It's like, it's letting go of your youth, which is a common thing as well. I think, and they don't really express it in other cultures in Star Trek. Maybe a little bit with the Vulcans, but that's about it, I guess.
Well, we see he's going gray throughout the whole. He's getting a little older too.
Yeah. But did you guys like that choice, by the way? Did they didn't really need to do that for this episode, but they kind of made him get old. Did you like that?
Look,
I thought it was fine.
I hate this It's a Wonderful Life type of episodes that they do, where they introduce something at the beginning of the episode and it kind of ties through as a theme throughout. It's just a little bit on the nose. And the growing old thing was just we need to have a hindrance so that the stakes are higher. Because otherwise, if he was able to move about, then why is Garrick with him at the end? And
so him becoming weaker is to make him a little bit more relatable as the protagonist of this particular episode.
Yeah.
They basically had to make an alternate universe for everybody on the station to be nice to Bashir in this episode.
And even then, they're not that nice to him. He's not even that nice to himself, really.
Yeah.
No.
They're like, we're part of you?
Excuse me, Doctor. What? Oh, Quark. I'm sorry. How can I help you?
Yeah, and that's in the real world. But yeah, maybe it's that Bashir is kind of a dick sometimes. Quark walks up to him just to, I kindly ask for some biomimetic gel.
Illegal biomimetic gel.
And Bashir snapped at him before he even heard what he had to say, which wasn't anything good.
He was sorry until he found out what he wanted. He's like, I'm not sorry, actually. I'm happy I snapped at you earlier. But yeah, okay. But could we also talk about Andrew Robinson in this episode? Who I think is chewing it up, he's loving everything he gets to do in this episode.
The camera also loves what he's doing too.
Yeah,
because they would just like where things cut away where his character is not necessarily involved in it. There were some transitions where it's like Garrick and Bashir talking, and then Bashir's like, "We'll split up," and then it's like they go their separate ways, but then the camera focuses in on Garrick's reaction to it, and this is before the reveal. It's just like, no, instead of like focusing on Bashir, we're going to take this couple of seconds to see Garrick's face.
Yeah, and they do a clever thing too. When he first encounters Garrick in the coma, Garrick says to him like, "Hey, your hair is turning gray. I guess you do have to be worried about turning 30 after all," which is a clever way to make the audience think, "Oh, is this still real?" Because they literally just had that conversation. Garrick's wearing the same clothes. There's like, little things like that where when you're watching the episode for the first time, I think you might think, "Oh, is what happened?" And then you start to figure it out pretty quickly. But at first, you're a little like, what's going on here? And I think that is clever because I like episodes like this. I enjoy this episode because it's a mystery. And I always enjoy when they do that in Star Trek. Kind of like they did with the O'Brien episode we did last week. But I kind of like this one a little bit more. What about you? Like, Dave, do you like this episode a little bit more than the last week's episode?
Than Visionary?
Yeah.
It's they're different, right? But they're similar in the sense that one is an O'Brien perspective episode, and this one's a very Bashir, even more so because it's really only in his mind. So there's very the real Garrick, the real Quark, a couple others are in this, but it's very brief. And yeah, I think that they're kind of on par with me. I think that they're both good in similar ways. I think that this is an episode from early Deep Space Nine, I think stands out in like these early 3 seasons as something that's, hey, you guys are you're getting it. You're giving me an original story. You're giving me a character driven thing that's helping to expand the character and how he sees the other characters and I felt like also this cast compared to last week got to have a lot of fun with this because they're playing like variations of themselves. Like O'Brien's not playing the real Brian. Mostly he's playing this doubt character. So he's you can tell like he's having fun with it, and the writing's having fun with it too.
Yeah, and Kira's getting to do a lot of like, her type of stuff like this.
A paranoid, a coward, a hothead, and me? Oh, you think he'd pick some better company?
Like she's kind of almost acting like she does when she's the intendant. She's really over, acting but subtly at first, but then she really ramps it up once they do the reveal.
Oh, yeah.
Jaemeel, yeah, like what do you make of this episode compared to like a last week's episode? Do you like these more cerebral episodes, or would you rather more the O'Brien time heist kind of
time
episode?
heist?
The original time heist. O'Brien.
You're saying all the words to make me smile. I disagree with the comments of this being cerebral. I just felt that it was just so on the nose about everything and heavy-handed that it becomes a paint by numbers episode in some respects, and you're just kind of waiting for it to get to a conclusion. I have to disagree about the mystery aspect because the clues are so minimal and like there's no deductive reasoning. It's just like, oh, this is the scene that happens next, as opposed to a revelation that leads to inspection, that leads to deduction, that leads to an answer and a direction to go. It just seems like, oh, we're going to this place, oh, we're going to this place, oh, we're going to this place kind of situation. And at the very end, he's like, I know myself, so I know where the finale should take place, basically. It doesn't flow like a mystery where like we're not hypothesizing with the main character due to clues. It's just happenstance.
It reminds me a lot, this episode, of a show that I watched as a kid called The Odyssey. I don't know if it was on YTV. I don't know if you guys remember that show.
It was on CBC.
Was it on CBC? And it was very similar. A kid goes into a coma and he's in like this different alternate universe, and he kind of goes back and forth between the two worlds. Yeah. But But that's kind of what that show would have came out around the same time as this episode. I wonder if it was a little bit influenced on that, because I think Star Trek kind of did that. They looked for other shows and like, oh, what are they doing? Oh, maybe we could try that concept on Star Trek. And I think this might be that.
Yeah, like Star Trek, that's kind of its strength. Is it as far as its like science fiction storylines? It can kind of go everywhere and anywhere compared to some of the other franchises, which maybe have fewer options. Not everyone does time travel. Not everyone does like certain types of aliens. So that and Star Trek also has these kinds of stories where this was just a guy in a telepathic coma. Yeah, that's all this story is. It's just kind of it's kind of a really small one. I think like the 12-year-old version of me, like seeing this maybe around the first time, appreciated it more than this time. I think I agree with Jaemeel that it is like pretty predictable now watching it. I'm like, yeah, well, these are all the personalities, but I think like I think for maybe a younger audience, I think it's a little bit more accessible in some ways too.
It is a classic Star Trek trope, like you're stuck in Bashir's mind or Sloane's mind or a warp bubble, or you're stuck somewhere with fear. Like but it's a trope that I like. So
yeah,
so I do like this episode, but I understand exactly what Jaemeel. I don't disagree with you, but I still like it.
Okay, you can.
Static warp bubble with Crusher. It's kind of like that episode. Like, let's give the Doctor an episode where the world's crazy and they're the only one who's sane.
Yeah.
Is that Remember Me? Am I wrong? Is that Remember Me?
Is that what the episode's called? I think it is, actually.
I don't remember.
Remember? Well, you didn't remember me.
Remember Me. Yes, that is the name of the episode. Season 4, episode 5.
The reason I know that is because I had the Star Trek trading cards, and I can vividly remember
season. Okay, so that episode was in 1990, and this is like the 5 years later version that they're doing these pieces.
And is that episode better than this episode?
It's more original, I think, because it comes first. Maybe.
No, I think the way it's structured too. I have to rewatch it again.
Okay. So I think we just like with this episode, I agree with Kevin what he just said, that I agree with you guys that it is predictable, and I do think, again, 10-year-old, 12-year-old version of myself would have loved this episode, and I still have a soft spot in my heart for stories like this that tell a story well, and we get to have the fun acting with we get here with O'Brien and Dax and Kira. Once again though, guys, like seems to be a common trope, but Avery Brooks is once again not really in this episode. I mean, he's got a few lines and like in like he says I'm flattered at one point. He's like, I'm needed here. That's about it.
He's just sitting in his office.
He's to let me know when Bashir's dead, and then I will get right on my pad and find a replacement. Okay.
Did he have the replacement all queued up and everything?
I would not have been surprised. I mean,
wasn't she there, or was it just a head nurse, I guess? Or head medical officer.
He's already set up an if this then that. If Bashir dies, another guy just comes right in.
Yeah,
doesn't even have to think about it.
Well, okay. Here, I also have to mention that like the last time we had like any kind of focus with Sisko was that last time with like he was the emissary and whatever. That was 4 or 5 episodes ago, but they're always mentioning Sisko in dialogue. Where's Sisko in the bunch? Where's Sisko in the group? Like they always have to remind us, like, who's the captain of this station? Oh yeah, Sisko. Like, compared to like the other shows, like, obviously the original series is the Kirk show, and Next Generation is kind of the Picard show, sort of.
Or Riker.
Riker. Yeah.
But where Picard is. Picard is on the bridge, or he's
his presence
on
is
a
always
mission.
felt.
Yeah,
or he's in his ready room drinking Earl Grey tea.
Yeah, like I feel like all the usually like the captain is felt even if they're not there. But like Sisko, it's like, where's Sisko? Remember that guy Sisko? And he just got that son Jake. He's a main cast member on this show. Can you believe it?
Yeah,
it seems almost intentional with the writers that they've decided not to make the captain the focus in this.
Yeah,
show.
and in this episode,
until they do, and the show gets better.
In this episode in particular, Kevin, we get no Jake. That's not abnormal. We get a lot of episodes with no Jake, but I do think it's important that there's very little Cisco in this episode, and there's no Jake. And I do think there.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I just think that maybe there was a conflict between Avery Brooks and the writers that they didn't put Jake in enough episodes. This would have been a good episode for Jake to have been in. He probably, and was like, I could see him being like, I'm not gonna like be in this episode all that much because like I could see a conflict there. Because I don't think it's a coincidence that there's like very little Avery Brooks and very little Cyril Lofton, especially in an episode that has the whole cast.
Well, and they also have Garrick, right? They have Andrew Robinson.
Mm-hmm. Shouldn't Jake like be playing Bashir's youth and be the first to die? Doesn't
his innocence?
That would have made the episode much better.
But like it just seems kind of like it writes himself if he's kind of positioning various people to be various things in the representation. Like Jake would be the ideal youth and innocence individual, and already kind of fading as he's coming into this world because he's going to be 30.
Yeah. What was the last time Jake was even in an episode?
I don't know, man. Like he just comes in the most random episode and then he's gone.
Life Support, which was the one with Bareil, which was I don't know 5-6 weeks ago. So
not a great episode, really. I mean, not a standout for Jake. I mean, we do get better Jake once the Dominion War starts, but yeah, it's slow treading here in season 3. Anything else on just the first part of the coma? Is there anything you guys kind of want to touch on?
Yeah, I got a couple.
There's some good moments that occurred.
I got a couple notes. Yeah, if we're going to talk about maybe the early parts of the episode, I keep coming back to the opening scene with Bashir and Garrick. Always strong with these two. Always fun. Always good dialogue. Always like the many different things. Them talking about whatever. And I also okay. Garrick talking about he wasn't eating his food because he's trying to lose weight.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was like, and we're like, they're still trying to like manage their weight, like what they could eat at lunch, I guess. And that it stood out to me. But having women's dresses may provide me a modest income, but it offers very little in the way of exercise. So he's not getting enough. He's not getting enough activity. That's his problem. He's too sedentary. Yes. Therefore, has to diet, has to fast. He can't even afford to eat when he goes out with.
It's Garrick. He's just trying to throw Bashir off somehow.
Yeah, I don't think any of what he's saying is even legitimate. I just think he likes to just make stuff up to talk to Bashir about. Because it's fun activity for him. I think like lying is like a muscle. He needs to flex it.
Yeah,
and that's what he's doing with Bashir.
Right. But at the end of this scene, even like after the whole thing with the Althean or whatever, Quark gets all up in his face and he's like, hey, we introduced a lunch menu at the bar. Because he's like, why are you eating here at this Replimat? Why aren't you buying food in my establishment?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a good point.
Garrick says, don't take it personally. He's turning 30.
Before Bashir snapped on him.
That's after the snap.
Just with the coma part though, when he first meets Garrick in the coma, he goes into the boardroom with all the cast members, and that's when he starts kind of figuring out like what the hell's going on, and all of you are acting weird, and the computer's not working, and Dax wants to go kill everybody with a phaser, and all this kind of stuff is going on.
I liked this version of Dax though. I like this. Okay, so O'Brien, fun as the Doubt, and everyone hated his guts. Fun. I think Dax is like all action. What does he say? Action adventure? Is that what she's described as?
Yeah, or his sense of adventure.
Sense of adventure. She's like, I'm going to get that phaser and I'm going to find him and I'm going to kill him. I was like, hey, is that adventure or is that murder?
I think that's his James Bond. Both. It's his James Bond kind of, alter ego. That's
take it bull by the horns. Odo was suspicion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed to be like, suspicion or just complete curiosity and stuff like that. Like, yeah, he keeps asking questions, all the time.
Where was his horn dog part of his personality? All right, and who was going to play that? Was that going to be played by Nog?
That should be played by Jake.
That would have been good for Jake.
It actually was Jake. We just didn't see him because he was humping a bulkhead or something.
That would have been a great moment. Like, once he figures out that they're all a part of his personality, it just cuts to Jake and he's like just humping on a bulkhead. And it just cuts away. And it's like, I guess so. I guess we figure out what part of personality that is.
Oh, they did bring in Sirach that week.
Yeah.
Just couldn't fit it in the episode.
Yeah. He shot scenes. They were never released.
Cut for time.
Cut for time, and then they couldn't make it past the censors.
Didn't test well.
Yeah, it didn't test well. It was not good for a 1995 audience. Okay. What else we got here? We have a great little fight between Daxo and O'Brien. Would you guys like to listen to a little bit of that?
Sure.
And stop him from sabotaging any of the other systems.
And what good will that do? You have no idea where he is. We don't know what we're up against, how strong he is, if he can be hurt by phaser fire.
Don't worry, Chief. I wasn't asking for any of your help. If he's here, I'll find him, even if I have to do it all by myself.
Oh, calm down, Dax. You're not going anywhere. No one is.
Dax outranks him too, and he thinks this is the real Dax.
Calm down, Dax.
At that moment,
calm down. You're no one's going anywhere, and neither are you.
Yeah.
Taking command. Actually, well, and Kira is actually supposed to be the most senior here.
Don't worry, I'm not letting you out of my sight.
Duck, wear a bulletproof vest.
Any other things that stood out in this part of the episode for you guys, like that?
With all the four bickering.
We got the Odo, Kira, O'Brien, Dax, Bashir. There's you got 5 people there really bouncing off each other, but it's really just Bashir bouncing off himself, which is the whole him trying to figure that out, which does happen pretty quickly.
It's fun and it's funny, but it doesn't really actually reveal too much about his character. Like I don't think it doesn't really, it doesn't progress his character at all.
Until later on.
Learn anything.
Yeah.
Until later on, once we learned that the whole feelings for Dax and the whole Lethian was trying to.
That was a good scene.
And that's probably the best scene in the episode, and everything up into that is just like Jaemeel is saying, like a rudimentary sci-fi coma episode. Maybe it's just they needed that, maybe just to get there. And they could, and maybe that was what made this episode fulfilling for someone like Alexander Siddig. Dave, do you kind of see what I'm saying there?
Well, I think Alexander Siddig got a great chance to perform here, and I thought he, obviously gets to do all the makeup, and he gets to kind of play different, different versions and off different versions of himself. I think the whole thing with the bickering of all the characters. It's just fun to kind of see the cast having that moment, but to Kevin's point, it's not that memorable or doesn't really reveal that much. But then it's also there's a kind of a horror aspect where you realize this Lethian's kind of like a monster in the mind and at my own mind. And when you kind of get the exposition from these characters and you understand what's happening and what the stakes are, then you're like, he's this is like a battle of oneself. That he has to find the way to defeat the monster within this damage. And so I do kind of like that part of it. It does drag for me a little part, maybe especially through where he hooks up with O'Brien again at one point, and then they go to the Quarks and whatever. But it's I enjoy it, and then I think the other line we mentioned was that when they say bottom line is Julian's in a coma. He unless we can get him out, he'll be dead in less than 3 hours. And Cisco says, "I'll be in my office. Keep me informed." That's
it. That's less 3 hours if we don't do anything. Okay, well,
I did have one. one issue with this episode is when when they're just about to reveal that Garak is the Lethian. He says Garak is telling him to give up, telling him it's not going to work, and then he goes, "That doesn't sound like the Garak I know."
Right.
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
it sounds exactly like Garak.
Yeah.
Remember the
quit before we kill ourselves type idea. Yeah, like I've seen enough fights. I know when to quit. Those type of ideas. Yeah. But Garak also has a rebellious attitude toward order a lot of the times, like the way things should be. And I think maybe that's kind of what he was referring to. That Garak is he literally said he would lay down and die, but in a small part of the audience and is like, yeah, come on. I don't believe that. Because he does prove it later on, like when he goes to Cardassia and he's helping Damar, and that's ways down the road. But that's the kind of stuff where I do think sometimes Garak convinces himself that he's a coward, or that and because it's more logical or smarter in his mind. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just cowardice. And yeah, so that's kind of my take on that. Jaemeel.
Yep.
Okay, so let's get to this.
Your take is fine.
Yeah.
But what? But once again, I feel like we're just, this episode just bugs me. As I started at the top, like it's a Wonderful Life episode for the most part, and he appreciates growing older. He appreciates the youth that he has. I was just like, I hate you. At the end of the episode, I hated Bashir a little bit more because of this.
What a laugh!
What a laugh!
It's not a good Deep Space Nine episode if you don't hate Bashir just a little bit more when you're done.
Because like Jeff, you're talking, and I think you're bringing a lot of thought and intelligence to an episode that wasn't trying as hard as you were making out to be. That's all I feel.
Okay. I agree. I do think that it's a very straightforward episode, and once you know what happens. But I like to look at it from a first watch perspective of like, what is this episode look good on a first watch and a rewatch? And we are rewatching this here. But
I appreciate
at the same time,
that you enjoy the episode. I appreciate that.
Oh, that's good. Thanks. I mean, I think with this episode, it's a guilty pleasure. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's not as good as I think it is. But for me, I really like Bashir episodes in Deep Space Nine. They're like, I will take a Bashir centered episode like this over a Ferengi episode any day.
Sidebar.
I think it's over a Kira focused episode,
or a Kira focused episode, or maybe even an Odo focused episode,
or a Jake focus,
or a Jake.
Yeah. Valiant down the road.
No, well,
Cisco.
Jake has some good ones though, Dave. Like the Visitor's a Jake episode.
Yeah, he's got a couple, but that's mostly Tony Todd. That's not mostly Sir Rock Lofton. So
okay,
it's still a Jake episode.
It's a Jake episode, but it's a new Jake. It's an older Tony Todd Jake. So
it's true.
Okay, Dave, Valiant.
Yeah, Valiant's a good one. Nog and Jake, but
it's fine, but it's mostly the guest cast and Nog.
Red Squad,
Red Squad, we're Red Squad. Yeah, like I do think that this is like it made it feel more like Next Gen. I think this episode, and I think that's why I also kind of have a soft spot for it, even though. It's not as good maybe as even like distant or Visionary, the one that was last week. Yeah.
Like the final scene we get here with old man Bashir and the Garak that's the Lethian in. Yeah, this whole scene where they're in ops and there's balloons everywhere and Garak is or the Lethian.
You forgot about the singing from the Daba girl.
I rather not discuss that part of this episode.
She was a good singer.
Yeah, why? I don't need to hear I don't need to hear happy birthday in an episode. There's no reason to put that in the episode.
What about when Garrick went and many more?
That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah. And maybe that's why they did it, just for that joke.
But isn't this where we realize that Garrick is the villain? Like it's not like
no Earth customs, like something so specific.
It's so dark and it's so twisted. Like, even though I get he's a Methuselah man with a broken hip, but he does. He is picking up on the fact that Garrick is wrong. He's just not letting Garrick onto this, that he knows this right away. It's not until he drops a lot of tennis balls on him that he's going to stand up for himself.
That's right. He asks, "What part of you do you represent?" And he has all these kind of like Odo old man haws coming at him, which I really love.
Jean-Noir, that's what the director said. He's like, pretend you're Renee, and you're going, huh.
Yeah, I think he maybe a little bit, and he really brought it.
Beside him.
He really brings it in the last 5 minutes of this episode when he's like explaining to the Lethian, which is Garrick, like everything that's wrong about his little ruse and how he's trying to destroy him. He's like, "You're wrong about me. You don't even know me. Even if you are in my head, you don't know what you're doing." And just like a really great inspirational speech that he gives. And we're getting more of that from Bashir in DS9 as of right now than we are from Cisco. And I think that because Siddig was almost Cisco, I think they really liked him. They really wanted to give him episodes like this, and
it would have been interesting too. Like if in the alternate universe where Avery Brooks bails and he leaves this show, let's say after this third season, right?
Yeah.
Like it would have been amazing to see what would they have done with the show. Would it have continued? What would season 4 without Avery Brooks like? Does Michael Dorn still come in?
Mm-hmm.
Does
find a way to get Jellicoe to run the station?
Yeah, you bring in Ronnie Cox to play Jellicoe's gonna come in here. He's gonna clean house.
I think what might happen there, Dave, is that Worf comes in and is maybe the captain.
The captain.
Yeah.
Or Kira with maybe him as the first officer or something.
Yeah.
That could have been the case. But luckily that didn't happen. We got a very different version of the show after this.
But Dave, honestly, that isn't the worst thing, and I wouldn't have mind seeing that. Although, I appreciate what we ended up with, but that side was kind of cool.
Is it all like that alternate version of Deep Space Nine where we get like a very different last 4 seasons?
Well, there's also the alternate universe where Avery Brooks doesn't come do the show, and Cisco is played by Alexander Siddig.
Yeah,
which would have been also very weird. Because I think they still would have done the emissary stuff, and they still would have, went down that road. So I think it would have been definitely different show with him being the emissary.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been as neat.
I don't think so. I don't think Alexander Siddig has the ability to overact the way Avery Brooks can.
I don't think anybody does.
Yeah, well, him and Shatner are pretty much the two guys when it comes to overacting on Star Trek, and you need that.
Here.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Even Avery Brooks' little scene he gets in this episode tonight is like, I know he's playing the professionalism and he's playing but he's just like, it's like he barely showed up this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is what I mean. Like there is some sort of he's showing up for a paycheck in these episodes, and there had to have been some sort of a conflict with him until he went full Hawk, Jaemeel.
Yeah,
and I think once he goes full Hawk, I think all that baggage and stuff, whatever tension was going on, I think starts to go away, and we got a lot more Cisco episodes when it comes to season 4 and 5 and 6, and but I think it took this season to see whether or not he was going to leave or not. I think because I do think, isn't there a whole thing that he almost did leave after season 3, Dave?
Yeah, I don't know how much like the producers knew, but he was definitely considering it. He was considering getting out of the show. It's not clear exactly when he changed his mind, but it was. I think we're gonna notice it when it comes, because you think about like past tense, which was in the middle of the season. that would have aired like 3 months before this. That was pretty strong. And I think he was also kind of just waiting to see if the show would keep going, especially with now Voyagers in the mix. And
he probably decided to stay when they started putting him in episodes.
Yeah.
Also, next week's episode is a Cisco focus, so it's quite. He's like, you know what? Go to hell, everybody. I got like 90% of the lines next week. So I'll come in, I know how to work a tricorder, and I'll get a bunch of extras who look like patients and throw them on the floor in the hallway, and I'll just, we'll do a scene.
He's a jazz musician.
He's a jazz musician. He's gonna teach you. He's a drama professor.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, I mean, there's not really much more to say about this episode. Like, we get that great moment here where Bashir, where he kind of talks back. He gets older and older. The prosthetics, the makeup team. I mean, I wonder if they won an award for this episode, because he really changes, like almost frame by frame, scene by scene.
This like final or near the end where he's like, "Fuck you,"
yeah, and I can do anything I want.
Yeah. And maybe I got that question wrong on purpose, but screw you. But here's the other thing I think we haven't really talked about at all is that what we learn later on, spoilers, that Julian Bashir is got the genetic engineering, right? And he's and how the things we learn about his backstory, that he could have been a professional tennis player, but my parents didn't approve. And on this, the first viewing, you go, well, because they wanted him to be a doctor, not an athlete. But it's actually, like retroactively, if it's because becoming a professional athlete would be way more high profile to exposing his abilities than becoming a doctor. And then becoming second place in his class intentionally is another way to kind of disguise the fact that he's enhanced.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's all very clever. If they had that storyline in mind earlier on, and they may have. I think it was extremely clever for them to do that later on, especially with the tennis thing, and just a little background stories about Bashir make a lot more sense for sure.
Because why would they be like, no, don't become a tennis guy? This is the 24th century. You can do whatever you want to be.
Is there pro tennis?
Pro tennis, and he was good enough. Damn it.
Yeah.
Baseball's gone, but pro tennis is still around.
Okay, and here's my other thought too. Remember the episode where Bashir and O'Brien were playing the spring ball or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay, if Bashir was good enough to be a professional tennis player because he's also genetically engineered, the fact that O'Brien was keeping up with them is props to O'Brien.
I think he humors them, man. I don't think
he wasn't keeping up with him.
Yeah. Bashir like Garrick, and that's why we get these two have these moments together, because they both just need somebody to listen to their bullshit. They really do. No, like they just need somebody. And Garrick needs to practice his line. Bashir needs to like cry about what's going on. He's turning 30, or
Bashir just needs a friend.
He just needs a friend. And that's why we get these strange bedfellows in this episode. And that's why we get bookended conversations of them eating in this episode as well. That bookend the episode. And I love Garrick's bib at the end too. I mean,
why does he get the massive bib? I guess he got his appetite back.
He's a tailor. He cares about his clothes, and if he gets anything on his clothes, he would have to change. He can't go back to work with a mess.
Did he go to the exercise program when Bashir was in the coma?
No, that was all a lie.
Yeah, no, he doesn't tell. He's just practicing. That's what he does. And I do think Bashir also kind of does the same thing. He practices in a different way. He practices to make sure you don't know he's enhanced. He's always kind of trying to fit in and be like everybody else. And he's talking about getting older, and he's talking about certain things that you wouldn't think an enhanced person would really care about all that much. But Bashir, I do think genuinely does, but I do think he struggles with it too. He's like trying to hide who he is at the same time. So they're both lying to each other in a sense all the time, Garrick and Bashir, which I love. I love their dynamic.
Yeah. When this episode their discussions are my favorites in Star Trek. Them just at the table.
When this episode was made, Siddig El Fadil, or Alexander Siddig, he was only 29 at the time. He wasn't 30 yet.
Ooh.
Oh, well, that might have been a fun fact, but
no longer scooped you.
That is why we are here. We are moving over.
That's why we have details discovered by Dave.
What in the fuck is this? Triple D.
The Triple D's.
Details discovered by Dave. Triple D's. What is this?
Double D with Dave.
Double D. No,
Or
Triple D with Dave.
Triple D.
Double D with J. Double F with Jeff. Okay. All right, moving on to fun facts, Dave.
Oh, you need the crawler?
Yeah, I don't know if you're ready for some fun facts.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. This episode won an Emmy Award for Outstanding Individual Achievement in Makeup. Oh, I was right.
Or did you already know that?
I did not.
All right.
I did not look this up before. The elderly Julian Bashir resembles Alexander Siddig's uncle, Malcolm McDowell.
Ooh.
This is rumored to be deliberate.
The time in which we burn.
He's his uncle?
Yes, apparently.
I never knew that.
His uncle? Wait,
Julian
okay.
Bashir, Alexander Siddig's from isn't he from Algeria or something?
Is this like his mother? Maybe his mother?
Maybe maybe. I don't know. That's crazy. I didn't know they were related.
Okay, his uncle on his mother's side is actor Malcolm McDowell. Another uncle on his father's side was twice the Prime Minister of Sudan. Yeah, well, who's more impressive? I think I'd rather meet Malcolm McDowell than the Prime Minister of Sudan, even if he was twice.
Yeah, Prime Minister of Sudan probably not a good guy. Okay, Alexander Siddig commented that Distant Voices was a massive challenge for me as an actor. What a laugh!
What a laugh!
The reason it was pointed out in this episode that a pre-ganglionic fiber and a post-ganglionic nerve are nothing alike was pressure from Celeste Wolfe, Robert Hewitt Wolfe's wife. According to Wolfe, ever since Bashir first told that story, his wife had been bugging him to do something about it. In reality, a pre-ganglionic fiber and a post-ganglionic nerve really are completely different. And as Celeste, a pre-vet, pointed out, no one would ever mix them up. As such, Wolf explains, having Altovar point this out was my way of saying, well, okay, to Celeste.
Good on Celeste. I think she did the right thing here.
Dave, yeah, Celeste was you, and somebody just caved into it. Fine.
If I was only married to one of the writers,
I feel like it does enrich his story.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Much as director Corey Allen did in a scene in this episode, The Circle director Alexander Singer shot the scene in the wardroom in one continuous, uninterrupted take. When the episode was edited together, the scene was intercut with various close-ups and reverse angles, but the master shot of the scene was filmed as one long take. So they ruined it, is what you're telling me. They should they ruined it with a bunch of close-ups that they didn't need, maybe they needed to do, but
maybe they're contractually obligated to get their close-ups in.
Yeah, probably. Okay, the optical effect of Odo melting was created by Vision Art Design in animation. I don't know if that
was so dark when he finds dead Kira and then it's like I melted the Lethian came through here. Right? And you're like, I guess this is like what Odo dying would look like.
That he takes extra long time to provide the last bit of information.
This is what Bashir imagines Odo dying would look like.
Yes.
It was just a head. You should have just ended with
it's just a head with a bunch of goo. Yeah.
Thumbs up going into his liquid state, like he's the Terminator from Terminator 2.
Yes.
Now I know why you cry.
Hey, it's my lucky day. Okay. Despite the fact that Bashir was an avid tennis player in his youth, this is the only episode of DS9 in which we see Bashir actually playing tennis, inferring from Garrick's "your service" line that Garrick was serving. Bashir won the abbreviated match Love 15.
Of course he did. Okay, I thought it was neat that they set up like a tennis net right there on the promenade.
Yeah. That was cool.
Yeah.
I thought, and nobody was out there. It was like it felt like the stage was like late at night and nobody was on. Nobody was there. I don't know. It looked really cool.
I think but I think it would have been funnier if it had been Bashir and Garrick playing badminton. I mean, it would have been funnier if it had been. I could have been a professional badminton player.
Yeah, and then we could talk about shuttlecocks.
Yeah.
Dennis McCarthy based the musical score for this episode on the music of Christoph Penderecki and Georgi Ligeti. I don't know who those people are, but that's who he based the music off of.
I wasn't like noticing the music that much, but maybe that's a good thing too because it wasn't distracting.
Yeah, that's a good point. Dr. Bashir, in his discussion with Garrick about mystery novels, says that he prefers human mystery novels to Cardassian because Cardassian mysteries always end with everyone being guilty. Two of the most famous human mystery novels, both written by Agatha Christie, use variations on this idea. I do love that response Garrick gives where he's just but that's the best part is finding out how they're guilty.
I mean, who's guilty of what?
Yeah, exactly. Guilty what? They're not just going to tell you.
Back to their conversations around the table. I just love them. They're always good.
Yeah, right. There's always great lines and great quips. Dr. Bashir says that he is only a couple of days shy of his 30th birthday. In real life, Alexander Siddig was months away from his 30th birthday when this episode first aired.
He was
7 more months.
7 more months. I love that. Okay. This takes place in 2371. A script from this episode was sold at an online auction. I don't know why that's ever in there. In a deleted or unfilmed part of the scene where Bashir encounters the representation of Cisco, Cisco triages another injured individual by prescribing drugs known as hydrocortisone and triptocetterine. I don't know. Okay. Are those real drugs? Okay. No, probably not. This episode serves to link up the first season episode, Q-less, with the 5th season episode, Dr. Bashir, I presume. In Q-less, Bashir relates for the first time the story about mixing up a preganglionic fiber and a postganglionic nerve in his final exams, a mistake which cost him his petition as a valedictorian in his medical class. In this episode, however, Altavor points out that a preganglionic fiber and a postganglionic nerve are nothing alike, and he speculates that perhaps Bashir mixed them up on purpose precisely so he wouldn't finish top of his class. This is elaborated upon in Dr. Bashir, I presume. So yeah, I mean, again, great foreshadowing and backstory for this character.
Mm-hmm.
A couple more here. Different characters representing different aspects of a character's mind was also used as a part of a reflection therapy technique in Star Trek: The Next Generation Frame of Mind. This is also similar to the concept of the Curian Niskos in The Chase of the Next Gen episode, The Chase. Okay. And then finally, Odo, Chief O'Brien, and Major Kira all exist in Bashir's mind in this episode, only in his mind. They're not. You never see or hear them.
The real versions.
The real versions of them. Yeah. Other than through the coma thing, to the communication relay.
But Odo arrested that Lethian, and he sent him to the slammer.
Yeah, but he wasn't, protecting and serving. What was he doing when Bashir was ransacking sickbay?
He was gooing in his office.
Yeah,
he's busy. Yeah.
Watching Quark.
Passerbys that come in close proximity to him suddenly wind up dead and assassinated.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's it for fun facts with Jeff. Double F with Jeff.
All right.
No reference to random numbers by any chance, Jeff? I was kind of.
There was no 47 reference in this episode.
Thank God. All right, let's talk about
the 47th episode to not have a 47 in the episode.
Yeah, there's hopefully no episode reference to 47 tonight. Let's go, Jeff. Tell us what you're rating this.
I give it like an 8.5.
Okay. I'll go 7.8.
I give it a 6.8.
8. Ashley is giving 8.5.
Holy smokes.
I'm just off base to the I guess to this.
Kevin?
I'm gonna go 7, same as last week.
Wow. Okay.
7.
I'm
clearly I
surprised.
rated last week's higher, so
I'm just surprised that I'm kind of alone on the island in terms of.
Dave would rather watch a time heist with O'Brien than watch a coma mystery with Bashir.
I think yes. I think unfortunately that's true. All right. So yeah, we've had some Quark and Bashir and O'Brien stuff lately, but next week, Jeff,
Through the Looking Glass.
Through the Looking Glass, indeed.
Another mirror episode, I believe, right?
Another mirror episode, the second for the D Space Nine
the one
crew.
with Jennifer.
Yes.
Jennifer.
We can't just leave her here.
It's also the one where Cisco gets laid 3 times. So get ready for that. You think he doesn't have enough to do? They're gonna fix that.
Yeah, they fix it, but it's still not full Hawk. And we have to once full Hawk comes.
It's not even half Hawk.
He's not even half Hawk yet. Half Hawk, he's half into it. Once he goes full Hawk, he's here.
He won't be even half Hawk until like a couple episodes from now, where he builds the solar sail with Jake.
That's right.
Yep.
You like it, Jake? He's like, yeah. I haven't been in the last 10 episodes, so I guess it was a good time for you to grow it.
Yeah, it's good. All right. Oh, that was a 7.7 average, by the way, tonight. So a little lower than last week, but comparable among the group.
Okay. Dave, what do we have coming up on Live Long and Podcast and Super Meta Bros Podcasting and Live Trivial Debates, all of our triage of podcast networks?
Well, Jeff, in addition to our D Space Nine coverage, as we watch every episode in order, we also on Wednesdays do the original series rewatches with our dad Ted. Those are not in order. It's just been random episodes of original series. We have done 60 already, Jeff. There are 70. There are 19 to go of the original 79 episodes. This week's episode, Wednesday night at 8, we'll be talking about season 3's Wink of an Eye.
An
episode I have never seen before. So we're going to be talking.
One.
Yeah. So we'll be on with Jody Simpson and Adam Woodward and Ted Mader tomorrow night to talk about that as we wind down on our final 18. After those 18 weeks are over, we already have the successor podcast to original series, which is going to be Star Trek Enterprise or just Enterprise.
Oh no.
It doesn't
exist, Dave. You're doing a podcast that doesn't exist.
We're doing it, and it's going to be hosted by Adam Woodward and Jody Simpson, and Kevin Millard. He's been contractually obligated to attend.
Good luck.
Why do I say I'm going to do things?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a big mistake. And also, Jeff, we do Star Trek Radio Theater, where we reenact the Star Trek scripts with our group of podcasters. This Saturday night, we're going to be doing our next installment. We were off for a week. We're going to be doing Deep Space Nine's Fascination, which is from season 3, which we did this, I guess, 8 weeks ago. The one we covered this one with Steve Shives. This is the one where Luxana Troy comes.
Oh God, Mott is playing Vedic Baral in this episode.
Yeah, I get to punch him in the face.
Perfect. You're good to go.
Yeah, and I get to be O'Brien, and my wife gets to be my wife as well, which is nice.
Episode.
And you get to be Bashir, Jeff. So you got
is Bashir horny in this episode? I forget.
Yeah, he's making out with Kira.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he's only hot. Yeah, they're hot for each other. So you got to figure out how to fake make out with Ashley.
So it's just a normal Bashir episode.
It's just they were like, we're getting together in real life here, Bashir and Kira. So they were like, just write it into this episode.
Yeah, exactly. And Adam Woodward is going to be playing Jake Sisko and Jed Zadex. So check that out. Saturday night at 9 p.m. Plus our other channels, including Trivial Debates, where we have our monthly arguments about movies, TV, sports, and more. We just had Jody Simpson host the May episode. Already looking ahead to the end of June. Adam Woodward set to host. Panelists to be confirmed. I can't remember who I said yes to. I'll have to look into it. And then we have Super Mater Brothers Podcasting, Jeff, where we talk about all kinds of other shows, reality and scripted and unscripted, including what we did Big Brother Canada 9, Jaemeel and I did for 10 weeks. Big Brother USA starting up in July.
Yep.
We're looking ahead to that, and a Survivor and different shows like Westworld and Tiger King. So check out all our podcasts and all that fun stuff.
And did you hear the good news? They are back in the studio again for Star Trek Lower Decks season 3.
I think they're already renewed for season 4 at this point too.
Yeah,
right.
So they started recording season 3 today, and season 2 is going to start airing in August.
Well, hey, and that's soon.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. And Jeff, are you back for that one?
For what one?
Lower Decks.
For Big Brother, yeah.
Lower Decks.
Oh, Lower Decks. Lower Decks. Yeah, you guys froze on me. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Did we hit a tunnel?
Yeah, we hit a tunnel. I got bad reception here. Yeah, my phone fell in the toilet. No, Lower Decks. When is that coming back?
August.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, that's literally what we just said.
And what channel's it on, and what time do I need to watch it? You need to let me know everything.
Okay, we'll work on it. It's a couple months away. Don't worry.
Okay. That's so I'm very worried. You've made me very concerned.
Sorry.
Yeah. Don't worry. It's a distant voice right now.
Yes. It's the distant voices.
Oh God.
And we will catch up with more of the Big Brother, the Star Trek, Lower Decks. When in August, right?
There we go. We're busy here on Live Long and Podcast.
Yeah. When is Big Brother the American? When is it?
July 7th.
Oh, I thought it was the end of June.
No, it's a little later. So
are they going to go 100 days again?
Probably.
That's going to go, deep into October. But anyway, so that's it. Are we going to wrap it up here on D69 at 9ish until next week when we cover the Mirror Universe? For all of us here at Live Long and Podcast. Join us next time.
Welcome to Deep Space Nine.